to the Mike on Much podcast. I am your host, Mike Veerman. On the line from the road, my friend and trusty producer, Max Kerman. Max, what's going on?
Not much. I actually just got off the stage. I do a surprise harmonica solo in the middle of Frank Turner's set, which I do nightly on this tour. And the thing about a harmonica solo is that anybody could actually do it. It's like, as long as the harmonica is in the right key.
Yeah.
Yes. So my main move is I try to like shake my ass a lot while I'm doing it, and people are very impressed by the whole thing. They're like, whoa. And then I get a lot of compliments like, Max, I didn't know you were a harmonica player.
Max, like, you really rock that harp.
I know.
But quite literally, you just came off the stage. Like, you were just on a stage in Winnipeg before you just called me back for this segment.
Yeah, exactly. And then we go on in an hour. So this is my little pre-show, just hanging with you.
This is, I got to say, this is dedication to the pod. Literally, Frank is playing right now. You're on in an hour, and we're doing this. We're banging this out.
Well, you know what, though? I kind of had like a weird day today in Winnipeg because it was like minus 30 outside, and usually like on show days, I like to be out and about in the city and get some fresh air and explore a little bit and get a little taste of like the local fare. But when it's so cold outside, you can't really go anywhere. And so I've been missing some conversation, and at this point in the tour, like the band has like kind of stopped talking to each other. No, that's not totally true.
Every tour reaches that point.
Well, everybody's getting along, and everybody's like very professional about it. And once we get to the showtime, we all have a great time. But it's definitely reached that point where everyone's excited to get home. And tomorrow, everybody's flying home before the Hamilton show. So anyway, this is all. This is making me feel good, just catching up with my old friend, Mike.
So you're flying back to Hamilton after being on the road for quite some time now. How long have you been gone?
We've been gone for almost 3 weeks.
What's the first thing you're going to do once you get back into town?
Ooh, good question. You know, I like my Pho Dabo, which is like a very good Vietnamese place.
It's in my hood, man.
That's right. So I think I might go there. I'm going to go see Lauren, of course. It's also getting to that point of the tour where like Lauren like forgets what I look like, and like, you know, she started a whole new life for herself, kind of, you know that point of the tour.
Yeah. Do you find after a long absence like that it's actually weird just to remember what you're like around each other? So there's like a feeling out period?
Well, you know what it is? I'm pretty good at getting back in the saddle really quickly. And I think it's more in my nature just because I'm kind of like more like outwardly physically affectionate person, and a lot of my life, I live kind of a transient life, so I'm used to sort of jumping from one scene to the next. But Lauren is quite different from me, and then she's a lot more of a homebody, and generally doesn't do that great with change. Like if she's like starting a new semester at school. By the way, she is an adult. For our listeners, I just realized how weird that sentence sounded. Or like when she's starting a new job or whatever, it really stresses her out. Mm-hmm. So usually when I come back from tour, she looks at me like a dog that like kind of remembers like the person that they like once knew, like that they visited their place once maybe,
right?
But like is generally like a little like cautious,
just sniffing you out. Yeah,
just sort of sniffing me out, not quite sure what to make of it. And then usually about like the 6-hour mark, like something snaps, and then she like gives me a hug.
She remembers the love.
Yeah, she remembers, and then we're good.
You got a big show coming up here in Hamilton on Friday night. So this pod will be coming out on Friday. So when you're listening to this, Mike, much listeners, the Arkells will be playing Cops Coliseum here in Hamilton, which is, you know, that's the big arena in town. It's a pretty huge accomplishment. You guys have sold it out. I mean, aside from the annoying part where you've had to get a million friends and family tickets, how does it feel just to sort of sell out your hometown arena?
It's great. It's killer. And we've been really looking forward to it, and I think the night's going to be great. And but it's probably more entertaining to talk about like the tickets part and the commitment. So a couple of things that I've observed. First of all, shout out to our friend Dan, who has taken care of all the tickets. Dan is a real task-oriented guy, and I basically told him, Dan, you are going to be like my personal assistant when it comes to tickets. Anybody who wants a ticket is going to have to go through you. And the way I decided to do it was if I had 15 free tickets and there was 45 friends I wanted to take care of, everybody would split the remaining cost after those 15 tickets were taken. So did I explain that right, by the way?
That made sense. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, and I tried to do that in a very sort of like communist style way, because like, obviously, if I were to start ranking all my friends in order of like least important to most important, that would offend basically everybody except for the guy at number one.
But who would be number one?
You would, of course.
Oh, look at you, man! Good old Maxie, best harmonica player I know.
Shane's gonna hear this and be furious, but and I will give our friends credit. Everybody gets it, and the funny thing about it is nobody would like think twice about having to spend $30 for a night out to see a concert. No one would blink to like go see their friend and have to pay $30 to support them. Let's say like our friend was putting on an art like exhibit,
sure,
and the cost was $30 or something, and you really love your friend and you knew how important it was to your friend that you come. You wouldn't think twice about it. Everyone's an adult at this point. Everyone's been very good about spending the $30.
Yeah. Sweet. So what else is going on? Anything else in the world? Anything you've seen? Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I watched the Super Bowl. I was at a bar in Calgary. Awesome game. I thought Lady Gaga did a great job.
I was saying this on Facebook Live today, if anybody wants to go watch it on Munch's Facebook page. But essentially I was saying that Lady Gaga, Danica and I were watching the show, and we were watching her dancing, and I kept giggling. And at some point I was trying to, like, why am I giggling at her dancing? And the conclusion that I came to was essentially that Lady Gaga is not like a great dancer. Like, she's not like some all-world dancer, but she's super committed to her moves. So she almost has like the exuberance of like a child, which is inspiring. I enjoy it, but it couldn't help but make me kind of laugh on some weird level. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I totally. Well, we talked about this a little bit with Haim, because they have the girl group Haim. They have that video where they're all dancing in it, and they're like a rock band. They do not dance normally in their shows, but because they commit to the dancing, it's a great video. Like, I automatically like love the way they dance. Yeah. Like, for instance, like I get actually in Arkells circles, like for our audience, people love my dancing, but I'm like not a dancer. Like, I just like get really into it. Like, and honestly, most of my dance moves are some amalgamation of like my dad's dance moves. my dad's like a really, if you ever come to an Arkells concert and you see an old guy with glasses and curly hair dancing, that's my dad. And I'm just basically mimicking him. And a little bit of Chance the Rapper, and like a little bit of like Gord Downey, probably like those three guys.
And the thing is, as long as you're committed and you're authentic and you're enjoying yourself, I think people will always enjoy it. And that's how I felt watching Lady Gaga.
Totally. If you show like passion in what you're doing, that gives you like 7 brownie points out of 10.
Oh, you get a free pass. You have like a license to dance however the hell you want. Did you see when she dropped the mic and they threw the football at her? Were they supposed to be like mimicking like a pool party or something? It was totally like a pool party. That part was hilarious. Hilarious. Yeah, because
I was like, is that supposed to be like a joke?
It had to have been done for laughs. Like, just so goofy, like, this is how I'm going to end it. Like, I don't know. Or maybe she thought it was the most badass thing to do ever. Again, like a child would think catching a football going into a pool would be the coolest maneuver ever.
Okay, the other thing that I thought was really interesting, that actually like had me nervous for a second, was like most of her singing performance must have been pre-recorded. Like, maybe there's points in the set where she's like yelling, "All right, Houston, all right, Texas," but like, I can't imagine that she's singing every note.
Oh, with all that cardio?
Like, yeah, there's just too much to ask for. And why would you? Because you want it to sound great on TV, pre-recorded. And I don't hold that against her whatsoever. But there's this one moment in her routine where she's doing this dance, like a guitar solo, and there's a guy, a dancer holding the microphone, like for her to sing into. Yeah. And the whole time I was just thinking, man, if that guy goes rogue and like runs away, like she'd be like left hanging, and everyone would accuse her of being Milli Vanilli or whatever. And like they must have had, I could just imagine the production meetings for that part of the performance going, all right, if dancer goes rogue and it tries to sabotage this performance,
cut the vocals.
We have to cut. Yeah, or we cut the vocals or cut to a wide shot of people dancing. Like, we need some backup plans. And that's all I could think of. I was like, man, that dancer guy has a lot of responsibility. He needs to hold that mic up the perfect amount. He cannot run away. He can't forget, because it's all a choreographed thing, too.
If she didn't sing live. And Max, that is a heavy accusation that you just put out there into the world.
Well, You know what? I don't really care if she did. If she sang live,
I love it.
If she sang live, then God bless her. If she didn't, then God bless her. The amount of shit she had to remember to put on that performance is just insane. I know she can sing. It has nothing to do with like me believing that she's like not actually a good singer. She's a great singer, but when you're parachuting in from the top of the arena, it's like, of course, and you have to remember 20, like that was like a 19-minute dance routine.
Speaking of parachuting in, Max, can we expect some wire work from you at Cops Coliseum this Friday?
You know what? No, but but I will say this: I've transitioned. It's a big move in my career. I've transitioned from wired microphone to wireless microphone.
Ooh.
And it is giving me so much damn freedom, and I love it. I think the next step is just a headset microphone, Britney Spears style. Then you know you've really made it. You know.
I can't wait to see an Arkells set where you're wearing a headset microphone. So Lady Gaga was great. Max thinks maybe she sung, maybe she didn't. Decide for yourself. But today on the show, Max, we have Bebe Rexha, another strong female artist who I thought had a really revealing conversation about her career, her time in the industry, signing a record deal, getting dropped, persevering, writing that huge hit Monster by Eminem and Rihanna. The disappointment not being able to sing the hook herself, even though she wrote it. You know, it went to Rihanna, and basically the politics of the music industry. I was impressed with how candid she was about her journey.
Yeah, it sounded like she came in blazing. You said she went immediately for the kiss on the cheek, which is always a ballsy move.
Yeah.
When women do that, because we're not French, I'm always like taken aback. But then when I know that there's like, when I know that they're that kind of person, I just go for two cheeks immediately. Once I've been like,
give Max an inch, he'll take a mile.
Exactly.
And it's funny because we do these interviews in Greg Stewart's office, and just to describe it, he's got like a nice kind of couch in there, and then he's got like the chair that would be at his desk. So we're on this new system now where we're just holding microphones. We no longer have like a table in front of us. So I was in the chair, and then she was in the couch. And like within 2 minutes of the conversation, she just kind of like laid down on the couch, and it almost kind of felt like a therapy session. Like I was sitting in the chair.
Dr. Mike, you know, that's what you are to these people.
My new moniker.
Yeah.
All right. You want to get to Bebe Rexha?
Let's do it.
All right. Have a good show tonight, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Later.
I'm from the States. I don't know what this is. Nobody just told me to go somewhere.
You just sort of like follow on these press days?
Yeah, I just try to survive.
Yeah. No, this podcast
you're recording now?
We are. We're rolling.
Are we live on the podcast?
It's not going live anymore.
Oh, okay. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So if you ever said anything that you were like, oh, my goodness, it can never go out.
Cool.
Yeah, no stress.
Got it.
No stress at all.
So I can drink my Starbucks and
big time.
Fix my hair.
Drink your Starbucks, fix your hair, swear if you want.
Cool.
It's your life, you know?
What's the podcast called?
So it's called Mike on Much. I'm Mike. A mildly narcissistic title, but I do it with two of my friends. And yeah, we've basically we talk to anyone in the arts, anyone that's doing like sort of interesting creative stuff.
How did you start it?
Well, my friend Max.
Like originally, obviously not here, right?
This is turning into your podcast, asking questions. Yeah, so we basically started it because my friend Max is in a band here in Canada called Arkells, and they're like a very big Canadian band. Tour a bunch. When he would come back from the road, we'd sort of just hang out and shoot the shit. And then he eventually was like, we should start a podcast. And I'm like, everybody's got a podcast. But then he was like, no, like, let's get into this sort of minutiae of how creative people do their work.
Cool.
And I was like, all right. And it's like, with our connections, we can probably end up getting people on. And yeah, so this is episode 50. Or this is actually episode 51. You'll be 51.
Whoa.
But just talked to Kings Leon on Monday.
So dope.
It's been very good, and we've had all sorts of sort of interesting people that do great creative work.
Incredible.
Yeah, so now you kind of know the background. I hope that you're in good hands and that you don't feel...
No, I feel very comfortable.
That's good. All right, let's start.
Okay.
How's today been, by the way? It's like I feel like it's an intense press day. It's like everything's happening.
Really intense.
You got to talk into the mic, though.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
I might give you more, reminders.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, how's today been? Intense? Like you started early?
Are we like, is the podcast started yet?
It started. This is happening.
Oh, yeah. The day has been very intense, but I'm grateful because I could still be sitting in Staten Island wishing that one of my songs people would want to listen to one of my songs or anything that I make.
Talking about your music.
Yeah. So I'm out here talking about my music. So I'm happy. I feel good.
Speaking of Staten Island and sort of your beginnings, you're from New York.
Yes.
Your parents are from Macedonia. What do your folks do? Sort of what do they do when you're growing up? And how did they end up originally sort of in America? What's the story there?
My father, my mother was born in New Jersey, and my father was born in Macedonia. He's Albanian, though. They're both Albanian, and they met here. My father came out here, and he just started working at a pizza shop.
Really?
Yeah, he just started making pizzas, and then he slowly started. He really loved food and went to culinary art school.
Oh, cool.
And then he started working for the federal.
Is he a good cook?
He is an incredible cook. But we try not to bother him too much because he's getting older now, you know. But yeah, so he went to culinary art school, and then he, he had a couple businesses, and then things didn't go right. So now he's working for scaffolding for my uncle, excuse me. And my mom was always wanting to be a fashion designer. So, but that didn't work out for her.
But still very like sort of blue collar.
Yeah, blue collar family. Yeah. Yes, definitely hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of music played in your house growing up? Was it a musical family? Were you guys into the arts? I mean, your mom was into fashion, obviously.
My mother loved hip hop music. It was really funny. Well, my mom got pregnant with me when she was 17, had me when she was 18 or 9, something like that.
So young mom.
Very young mom. So she kind of always grew up as like we kind of felt like sisters growing up. So she would always listen to like hip hop and like the super, anything that was modern, she loved it.
Right.
And then my father loved Albanian music. He would only play Albanian music. So it was like really opposite ends.
Interesting mix.
It was very interesting. And
do you like Albanian music?
I really do. I do. It's very interesting. I think we've taken a lot from the countries around us, and I think part of the country. I'm terrible at geography, but we were taken over by the Turkish Ottoman Empire.
Yep.
So we kind of have a little bit of that like Middle Eastern flair to us, but we're right near Greece and Italy, so it's very interesting, the sound.
As a kid, like you played the trumpet, I read. What led you to the trumpet? Was it something that sort of just happened, or did you have I loved music so much, and I was dying to be in the band. So by the time the teacher got up, like the school band?
Yeah, the school band.
Okay.
By the time the teacher got up to me, like, because he would like put everybody kind of in their sections. My last name is Rexha, so it's R. So he was going based off the alphabet on your last names. So by the time he got to me, all the flute. I wanted to be a flute player or piano player. Yeah,
that was like your first choice.
Yeah, flute. Because I thought it was pretty. And by the time he got up to me, all the flute seats were taken and all the clarinets were taken, and I couldn't play piano because my parents the part of piano was that your parents had to give you lessons on the side, and my parents couldn't afford that. So he was like, just, can you put your lips together and go and I was like, okay. He's like, okay, perfect, you'll be a trumpet player. And I went home crying that day. I was so upset. I was
got stuck with the trumpet.
Yeah, I was in 3rd grade. I was so upset. I was like the only girl in the trumpet section. I was like, crying to my mom.
Did you eventually become good at the trumpet?
I did. I played trumpet for like 7-8 years.
If there was one right here now, like, could you bust it out and make something happen?
I think it would take me. I think I'd probably do like the scale and like play something, but like really rough. But I think it would take me a second just to remember the fingerings. I think it would come, as second nature. But I don't think I would be like an incredible. I could probably play like very easy sheet music, nothing crazy.
I feel like in my school, every kid wanted the drums. It was like basically a battle for the drums.
Yeah, there's only one drum player. Well, they always had a couple or 2 or 3, and then
you'd have to double up or do 3. Well, my last name is Veerman, and we did it the exact same alphabetical way, so there was no way I was getting the drums.
So what did you play?
I got the sax.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Tenor sax.
Yeah, it's kind of dope.
Yeah.
I'm actually happy that I played the trumpet because, the trumpet always kind of plays the lead in the band, the lead notes. So I think that really helped me with my melodies a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I think is like my strong suit is my melodies. So I was happy about that now.
Like, I guess as a kid, were you always sort of inclined to perform? Did you want to sort of sing, be a part of, choirs, school musicals?
Yeah. I mean, ever since I was a little girl, I would sit in front of the TV and die to be, my mom played, showed me Grease for the first time. And I was dying to be Sandy, like dying, like, I wanted to, I don't know. I would beg my mom to like send me to auditions and stuff. She didn't know anything. She's like, okay, no, okay. Yeah. Just kind of shut me up. But I would watch like The Little Mermaid, and I would watch Jasmine and all the Disney princesses. And like, I was dying to be them, and I thought they really existed. So
Well, how did like sort of, I guess, like the music that you listened to growing up and sort of wanting to do all that stuff, like, I guess I want to know, like, how did it sort of like shape your relationship with music? Like, who were your favorites and who did you want to emulate?
it changed so much because, you know, I was always like this happy young girl who like watched Disney, and I'd sing a lot to musicals and whatever my mom like kind of allowed me to watch. I wasn't really like allowed to watch MTV when I was like 8.
Interesting.
You know, I mean, I didn't, or like, you know, I was very young. I was too young. But then I think that was part of it. Then it kind of transformed to like going to a lot of Albanian weddings. We go to like 10 a year, you know? So that is a very interesting sound. You have accordions and clarinets and like drummers. And then my mom loved hip hop music, and she loved dance music and 80s music because that was like her thing. So she would play that for me.
That was like her generation.
Yeah, that was her generation, the 80s. And then as I started like really like learning music, I fell in love with Stevie Wonder and like was obsessed with him for literally a whole year in high school. I could not stop listening to him. And then I got into classical music because I really wanted to be a singer. And my dad wouldn't let me sing pop music because he didn't appreciate it or like it. So he was like, you could be a singer as long as you're
This
an
type
opera
of singer. Yeah.
So then I studied opera music. And then when I was in the band, when I was younger, I was really into jazz. So it's really interesting. And then at a certain point also, I started loving dance music. So there's so many pieces and aspects, and I could actually break it down because that's how my brain works. I could tell you what piece, where things fall, and why I like certain drums, and why I like certain melodies, and why I like certain tempos. I think it really has to do with all that kind of shaping who I am today. A little bit of each thing is really, and it's very hard when people ask me like, what's your style? It's very, very hard for me to explain it, you know? So that's why I say pop, which is like the worst thing for an artist, you know, like I hate saying that because what does that mean? That just means popular, like whatever it ends up being a hit song. But
really, you're like an amalgamation of everything you've sort of listened to growing up, and it seems like you're sort of a sponge for music, and then those things can then come out in your writing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like, because I love urban music, and when I mean urban, I mean more cultural and more, you know, like, you know, just it's just more rhythm to it. You know, I love R&B, and then I feel like there's moments of electronic, you know, sounds, and you know, and moments of, you know, hip hop. You know, there'll be a beat that's hip hop, and then in the melodies comes out like these operatic, like a woo woo, it's just me, myself, and I, or that's nothing new, which is like very like classical, you know, the because I was a coloratura, so a coloratura sings like that. It's very flute-like, so it's interesting.
Do you remember your first performance?
Ever?
Yeah, like, I mean, like, how young were you when you first got up on a stage and maybe sort of performed a cover or...
Like singing?
Yeah.
Probably when I was in elementary school, and I think I sang Annie.
Okay.
The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow.
Right.
Or It's a Hard Knock Life. It was my favorite.
So more in like a play setting?
It wasn't a play setting. It was, what do you call those when you do...
Like a rehearsal?
No, like everybody comes out and you sing a song.
Oh, a talent show?
Yeah, a talent show. Oh. There you go. I was like, what do you call that? Yeah, I did a talent show. And I loved it so much. I was so obsessed. I remember when I was younger, I was so obsessed with the auditorium and like the red curtains. I would walk by and I would get like excited. I just wanted to step on the stage. Like the stage seemed like such a happy, exciting, like it just felt like so amazing, and I remember being a little girl, I just loved it so much. It made me feel so happy. It just made me so happy, and I just would die to step on the stage.
Okay, so I mean, that kind of like feeling that pull to be like a performer and get up and be in front of people. How do you transition to songwriting from there? Does songwriting become a vehicle for you to get there, or is it something that you were naturally inclined to do?
No, I wasn't naturally I mean, I would write songs when I was 8, like poems.
Sure.
And I did write songs. I would say that I in high school I actually started mostly writing songs. That's because there was this one girl who was incredible. She'd play on piano. I forgot her name, and I was like, wow, she writes her own songs. I want to write my own songs. And then I met this lady at BMI, and which is it's like they collect your royalties for you.
Oh, okay.
But they also scout like new songwriters and like kind of nurture them. And so I met this lady from BMI. Her name was Samantha Cox, and I at that time just wanted to perform. I didn't care. I just wanted to be on stage. I wanted people to know my name. I was like just 15, like I want to be famous.
You wanted to make it.
I want to make it. I'm ready. And I met her, and she was like, okay, well, you need to slow down. She's like, you need to learn how to write. And I was like, well, I can write songs. Look, these are the songs I wrote. And she's like, great. She's like, but you have to really work on your craft. I said, okay, fine. So she put me in these workshops twice a week in New York City, and I would go there 2 hours into the city, 2 hours back out, just to learn how to write a song for 45 minutes with all these Nashville songwriters.
Who were all in New York?
Yeah, they were all in New York. They were all Nashville. They were all writing country songs. Some R&B people, some people are New York people in there. It was interesting, and it was like a Nashville like a country workshop, and I did a lot of those workshops, and I had probably the worst song in the room. But she taught me to really focus on songwriting, and if I didn't have that, I don't think I would have been here today. Because the songwriting was really an anchor. And something crazy about that time that I remember till this day is she was like, you have to see this new artist that I've worked with for a while. Her name is Gaga. And I was like, Gaga? That is a weird name. What a weird name. And I remember seeing Just Dance, and I was like, that looks something like amazing. Like, what is this? And then she also played me Kesha, which was insane too, but Kesha on guitar, which was really incredible. And they ended up becoming so massive.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So when you sort of make this choice, because it sounds like you're like super ambitious, super driven,
Yeah.
you're in this thing at 15, you're like, I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
No matter how I'm going to do this, I'm going
Yeah.
to do it. How do your parents, who you'd mentioned, blue collar, your dad didn't really appreciate pop.
Yes.
How do they do they support your decision making? Are they like, whatever you need, we're here to support? Or are they kind of like, what, you're crazy, good luck?
My dad, I think, was a bit like that, but I think he was only like that because it is a really tough industry, and I think that there's a lot of things that people know about the industry that are true. A lot of things people don't know about the industry. My mom was more supportive about it. Because she, I think, felt like, she wanted to always be a fashion designer and didn't fully go after that dream because of her fears and whatnot. So she really held my hand and supported me. And, I think that was very necessary. Without my mother, I don't think I would have gotten this far, just even for a mental state, not even just physical, but, this industry could really break you down. And then, you really have to build yourself back up. And then
it seems like that happens constantly. It's like this sort of cyclical thing.
Absolutely. I was speaking to one of my dearest friends, and I don't want to name names, but an incredible artist, very, very big, many hits, was just talking, and he was like, I gotta get myself back together. I gotta get more, I feel like I gotta build my, he's like, I gotta get some more hits. I'm working on some newer things. And I'm like, wow, even this person right now is starting to feel kind of insecure and unsure about their artistry. And it's like this constant process, it's like you start doing it to yourself then also, because the industry kind of conditions you to that. You get it's a normal cycle. It's like the cycle of life. After 4 years, you can either, hate your job, love it, quit it, whatever it may be.
Yeah, of course.
But the music industry is a very cold business.
Well, it's interesting because I think that with people in general, like anybody sort of in any career or relationship, it's like you see making it as the end goal. Like, oh, if I have a hit song, it's like that's where you want to get. It's your destination. Yeah. But then I think the thing is, once you get there, then you're like, oh wait, there's 5 more levels to the video game, and then you got to keep beating those levels.
It's crazy because when I remember the first time I ever walked into a recording studio, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting there, I'm making it. Little did I know. And then when I started working on demos, I was like, oh my gosh, so now I got to make a thing called a demo, which has 4 songs on it, 4 demos and a little mini EP, and then I got to bring them to the record labels and sit in front of them so that they could talk. They literally talk about you to each other, and then they tell and there's a lot of that will tell And then after that, after you get the record deal, that's not even half the battle. You have to put music out and people have to like it, because there's so many artists that have record deals that never come out. That's why, like, when you look at Katy Perry's story, she's been signed 4 times and then she finally like had a hit song. Like, I've been signed twice. This is my second record deal. It's and then after that, you can finally get a song on the Billboard. You know, I always said to myself, even my mom, I just want to have, you know, because I've had success with other artists, songwriting and then features, but I've never had a solo hit song. So now finally, like today, I woke up and I see my song "I Got You" at sitting on number 64 on the Hot 100 on Billboard, which is the first Hot 100 charting song I've ever had.
Congrats.
Thank you. So I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And then I check iTunes. It's 37 on iTunes, which is, it's cool. Like, I check it because I'm like, wow, this is such an unreal feeling. And then now, I always said that I always just wanted that, but now I'm like, okay, can we get it to the Billboard Top 40? And then, like, can we get into the top 20 on iTunes? Can we get it to top, you know what I mean? It's just,
it's like a hunger that's never full.
This is how life is. And that's why, you know, some people say to me, like, why does Beyonce keep going? Like, isn't she had enough? I think it's just something built in certain people. And it's just the way it's the human nature. It's the human condition. You always want more. You know, it's always, like you said, level. It's like a game. You got to level up.
Yeah, and it's almost like if you become complacent or happy, it's like everything will pass you by. It's like you're kind of out of the game already once you become stagnant.
So it's kind of terrible because you kind of have to, like, I hate using the word unhappy, but you have to kind of be unhappy a bit and like want more. But then you got to find the right place of like enjoying the moments.
Yeah, where do you find the joy? Is it in the moments of seeing the song on the chart?
I think like, you know, I think there comes a certain point where you could, like, you know, like my brother, for example, he's like the most opposite person than me. Or like my dad. My dad is happy in his little house. You know, I'm like, Dad, do you want to like move to a nicer house? Like, we can get one together. I think it'll be more space. Like, you can even move to California. It might be nice for you and Mom, like, to change the weather. He's like, no. I like this house. I like that it's close to the train station and the bus stop, and it's very small. And he just likes to wake up every morning and have his coffee and you know, go to work and be comfortable and come home to the dog and just, you know, that's how he sees
his
life.
His routine brings him joy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that there comes a point where you could really be like, okay, listen, like, I need to, you know, I'm happy with being just where I am right now and like stopping. I think that going on forever could really make you very unhappy because you always feel that you want more.
So how do you find out where the end point is?
I don't know. I don't think I'm there yet, just because I feel like people are just, I've been doing this for 10 years, you know, like literally like in the music business. I say 10 years, it's been longer, but 10 years of like in the music business, hustling, like really like working, lawyers, blah, 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 contracts, like all that nonsense.
Gotcha.
I think that to the public, I am a newcomer. So I think that I have to still kind of, you know, I want to get my music out there and I really want to tour. I want to do a solo tour. Like, I want to do things, you know, put out my album as a whole. I want to get those things done that I feel like haven't been checked off. And then until then, you never know. I might, you know, pull a Lauryn Hill and be like, I got one album done. I'm out. She did Miseducation of Lauryn Hill and she was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And, you know, people were like, why? I'm like, you don't know her story. You don't know what, you know, demons she may face or or maybe she's happy and she just wants to be quiet, you know?
Yeah. You mentioned, you know, sort of 10 years in the industry, and anyone that does something for a decade, there's going to be a lot of starts and stops. And like you said, for a lot of people, you're a newcomer.
So many.
But it's like you've been grinding, you know?
Literally right before the new year, I'm not going to lie. I said to my mom and my manager, and I kind of meant it, and I was joking a bit. I was like, honestly, if this one doesn't go, I was like, I don't know how much further I can go just because of, it's just a lot, you know? You think to yourself, like, am I doing the wrong music? Maybe people don't connect to me. Maybe there's something with my voice. Maybe what I'm saying is not working, and maybe it's just an energy thing, or maybe I'm just not meant to be an artist. It's such a hard thing to do. And then I think after 10 years of going and stopping, it really does get to you. And there's been many points where I've said to myself, like, I really can't be doing this to myself emotionally anymore and mentally, because music should be fun, and we forget that.
Well, that's where we start, for the joy in it, right?
Absolutely. And I told my mom and my manager, I was like, I don't think I could anymore. Like, this train, like, you know, the train that keeps on going. I was like, this train cannot go anymore. And literally after New Year's, like, everything just started changing. And that's not the first time that happened. That happened right before I wrote The Monster with my friends. it happened right before I went to New York, to LA, to meet a very big producer. It's very interesting how that happens.
How it's always darkest before the dawn.
Very dark.
And sometimes it's like, just hang around, stay in it, because you never know what's going to happen.
And you need those people. Like, I've had my best friend, like, I'd cry on the phone and he'd be like, no, you're not stopping. My mom would be like, no, you're not stopping. And it's like, well, yes, I am. Like, I really am, you know?
You mentioned the Monster. Like, just, I guess, getting into the minutia of how a process like that works. Is that something where this demo's going back and forth, you're submitting a tape, or you're sitting in a room with Eminem? How does that process work for a song like that, specifically with such a huge artist?
I very rarely have sat in the room with the artist. And people ask, like, oh, have you ever written like, when you write for somebody, do you, like, sit down and say, hey, I want to write for, I don't know, make up a name, Selena Gomez,
sure,
whatever. I've never sat down and said, oh, I'm going to write for this artist today, ever. Well, once with David, that's when, I'll tell you, I'll talk about that after, but the Monster, it was interesting, you know. This was after I got dropped from my first record deal, and I was like, oh, it's over. Like, I'm never gonna get a chance again, you know. Because in the music business, if you're usually signed and dropped, it's like you're like, you know, you've been touched already. You know, you're not
Absolutely.
new or exciting. Or I went in, wrote the song, and I went in, I had a quote that I found off the internet that made me feel really good, because I was kind of fighting my depression and my anxiety of, you know, it got to me, and I couldn't understand it, and I found a quote that said, like, we stop looking for the monsters under our beds when we realize they're inside of us. So I was like, oh, that really spoke to me. It was like, maybe I'm the one that's stopping myself, and maybe I just need to accept who I am and what I'm going through, and accept the emotions and the pain instead of running away from the anxiety and the depression. It was very, very bad, you know, and I had no idea what it was. I was just trying to understand these feelings. And I went to the studio with my friends, and I told John Billion, he's an incredible writer and artist. I said, John, I was like, there's this quote that I really love, and I want to make it kind of like "This Is Who I Am" type of record. And he came up with a melody of da na 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 na. I was like, oh my god, that's genius. And he put the I'm friends with the monster that's under my bed. And then we started kind of going back and forth with rhymes, and then it just came together. And then they handed me the mic, and I did the whatever, that little yodel part.
Sure.
It's like, you know, my signature thing. And then we finished the song, and an A&R had heard it, sent it to Eminem. And then Lupe Fiasco's people wanted it. And it was tough at the time because I really wanted to be featured on the song.
I was wondering that because,
Yeah,
I mean,
really,
you're going to
really-
write a song for yourself, right?
Yeah, I really, really wanted to be featured on the song so bad, just because I felt like it was the first song that I had ever been a part of or written that I felt so right. Like, I just knew it was something about the energy in the song. When I walked back to the train, because I would go all the way up to Harlem on 125th Street, and that's very far from where my parents live. It's about an hour, 45 minutes to 2 hour like commute. It's like a train to another train to a train to the ferry to a train to my, you know, and a walk to my parents' house. When I got that whole commute, I was like, I felt like I was walking on clouds.
You knew you had something.
Yeah, I
This
knew
was
I had
special.
something. I felt so high. Like, I felt so good. And I started feeling really scared and insecure because I was like, the second that I knew Eminem wanted it and they wanted the vocals, I was like, no, they can't. I don't want them to have my vocals unless they okay that I am on the song. Just because I knew the was such an interesting thing. I'm like, unless they get Florence and the Machine or somebody who really sings in that register, I don't want to give my vocals away because I don't want them to be used as background vocals. Kind of like what happens with Sia a lot. And then, and then I kind of, at one point, I got kind of bullied. They were like, if not by Eminem, but like by somebody on the team, they were like, if you don't give this to us, we'll blackmail you. They told my manager that.
Holy shit.
Isn't that
It's like, it's
crazy?
such an interesting process, right? And then so you kind of
So I
have
had
to play
no choice
ball.
because here I am, a new artist, no hit, nothing. You know, got to give, you know, there's a lot of rules. You got to give your publishing away to certain artists, even though they haven't written anything. You got to like get kind of like effed up.
Yeah. Was there a chance though that you could have sang the main hook before, like obviously like Rihanna got it and she was this massive star?
There was, you know, in the beginning, they asked for my vocals. They were like, well, because we might want to keep you on it. I was like, oh my God, that'd be so cool. Maybe it'd be a moment like when he did that song with, what's her name?
Yeah, Dido.
Dido.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. I was like, this could be my moment. It would have been such an incredible moment for me. I think, like imagine your first feature being on an Eminem song. It was like such a dream of mine. And
It's
I was
like a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I was literally couldn't sleep every night for like a year because we didn't know, and I was so excited. And there was silence for a year. And then it came out with Rihanna, and I was like kind of, bittersweet about it, but like I felt bummed, because I found out through like when it came out, nobody even told me.
You just heard it on the radio one day?
Yeah, I just heard it on the radio. Like literally, my mom texted me. I saw the track listing, and I was like, but you know what? But I've gotten that was supposed to be what that was.
Yeah, you still co-wrote a hit. Like you said, bittersweet is an interesting way to.
Yeah, and it's like it's Rihanna and Eminem. That's a blessing. Like you don't want to sound like one of those people. It's like now I see that that song also put me in a position where people in the music business started knowing who I was and started respecting me, which led to me being able to work with David Guetta and Nicki Minaj, and then doing Hey Mama, and then working with G-Eazy, and then doing Me, Myself, and I. So then you know what I mean, and then doing Take Me Home. So then now that led to all these other hits that are, I have under my belt, and to be able to work with so many incredible people. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's interesting. I saw you years ago at the Opera House with Black Cards.
Oh my gosh. Were you watching?
Really
were you
good.
watching Travis McCoy?
No, it was a weird kind of thing where I had been in a band that had like toured. We'd signed a record deal, and Pete Wentz was looking at maybe bringing us down to New York. We ended up going down and working with a couple of his dudes, but
Sam Hollander?
yeah.
No
exactly.
way, no way. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I had like a weekend there. Anyway,
Yeah.
long story long. So we were supposed to meet him at the Opera House in Toronto.
Long story long or long story short?
Well, I will keep it short. So anyway, I always say long story long. But anyway, and we saw you that night. And like I just knew, he's in this new band called Black Cards. And we didn't really know it. So we went there, we were supposed to meet him, and he ended up like bailing like immediately after the show. So we didn't end up talking to him then.
He was going through a hard time though, because he was going through his breakup with Ashley.
That's what someone had told us, that he had to get on a plane to go.
He was really going through a hard time.
You were very good though.
Thank you.
Stood out totally. How did you get into that? At the time were you like, this is a pretty big break?
I was like, just like starting out in college, and I don't know how that happened. I went to Crush Management, which is Pete's management label.
Absolutely. So
I went there to really meet with the management because they have they partnered up with Pete Wentz to create Decadence Records, and they also partnered up now to do a publishing company. So they were like, they have this new publishing company. I was like, okay, I'll go down there. And this was before the Monster anything, like before I had any single thing. So I went there, and then they liked my writing and they liked my voice. And Pete happened to be in the room with Sam Hollander. And now, like, this is a management office, so it's not like real studios have like strong walls and you could scream and nobody would hear your voice. But this was like these were like very thin walls, so they had overheard me singing, and they were like,
while you were sitting in that room.
Yeah, I was sitting in the smaller room in room B.
I've been in this office.
Yeah,
that's
so
hilarious.
I was in the back, so I was in the small room, and Pete heard me from room A with Sam Hollander, and Sam Hollander was such a fan of my voice, and Pete came in, heard the voice, and he was just like, how are you, or like, tell me your story, blah blah blah, and then that's it. And then the next day, I got a call from Sam Hollander, and he was like, yo, Pete wants to sign you. Like, do you want to be in this band that he's doing? And I was like, hell yeah. And I like literally walked out of Italian class that day, and I never went back to school. I was like, this, I'm out of here.
I'm going on the road.
I was like, I got to go to the bathroom, and I left. And the up thing is that I literally passed every teacher liked me that semester. Like, they were like, oh yeah, she's a hard worker. Passed me except my music theory teacher. Like, that's the only class that I failed.
That's pretty ironic.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Now this is your career.
So it was crazy. It was an awesome experience. It was tough. Like, I don't know. It was a tough experience.
Was there a particular reason why?
I think that Pete, I kind of signed up, really young, and I think Pete, he taught me so much, and I'm very grateful for that experience. It's just that I think he was going through a really hard time.
Sure.
And I was very lonely on the road. We had been on the road for about a year and a half, 2 years, and I literally had no one. I had no money. I was broke.
You'd never toured before?
I never toured before. I had to go. I remember going to Dubai the first time by myself. I was scared shitless. I hated flying. People think it's like this awesome, amazing experience, but like, I would show up and I would have to stay in my room because they didn't want me walking around by myself. So I'd like be in like my hotel room, and then they would let me get out when I went on stage. Then I would sing, and then I would have to go back into my hotel room and then get out the next day to go on a plane, but I couldn't even afford to get room service. So I was like starving all the time.
Wow.
But that makes it sound like it sound so negative. No, but like
it makes it more relatable though, in like sort of a real way.
Yeah, like my parents like helped me out. Like don't get me wrong, they wasted a lot of their money trying to like give me. My dad couldn't give me more than a couple $100. Sure. He couldn't afford it, but it was tough, and I don't think Pete meant it. I was really angry at him for a really long time because I didn't know I had like a lot of like I don't know. That's when I think my anxiety started, and I couldn't understand like how the touring worked and sleeping on a tour bus, just like a lot of things I had to kind of really learn, like kind of thrown into it.
It's a completely different animal.
I'm actually like that's why I'm like now I'm like very like thankful for that, because that like opened my eyes, and people were like, well, this is a tour, this is what we're gonna do. I'm like, listen, I've been doing this for a very long time, like I know what I'm doing, I know what this is, so I learned so much from being in that situation. But I think that now I see that he was going, I didn't know, I was young, I wasn't in a relationship or ever in love or knew anything about anything, so like I'd see him upset sometimes, and I'd be like, are you okay, do you need somebody to talk to? Meanwhile he's like going through a divorce, with the love of his life,
like very adult problems.
Yeah, like very adult problems, and here I am like a young girl, and I didn't understand why he wouldn't like be more of a, I wanted like more of a brother type, and I don't think that he was able to do that at that time because he was really heartbroken.
Sure.
So I think that I took that all to heart. So
yeah. Well, lastly, as we get the 2-minute mark, even though I was going to wrap up here anyway. So you have this new album coming out in 2017. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you've had such a sort of an interesting journey. It's been a decade.
Yeah.
Like you said, things started to churn for you in the new year, but this isn't the first time.
Yeah.
Now that the album's done and it's coming out and you're doing all this press, is it everything you'd envisioned it to be? I mean, the album creatively, the process, doing the press, being the star, being the sole sort of person out here, sort of living your dream.
It feels good. It feels really good that like people are connecting. That's like my most important thing. And there's like so much more that people don't know about politically and all that stuff. So I think that when I can't wait to go on tour, really, because I feel like that's what's going to make it feel really real and like really hit me. Because I think the one thing that music business has is like, when I did the iHeart Awards with G-Eazy for Me, Myself, and I in the States, kind of like all the celebrities and all the other artists kind of like, they don't really talk to you. It's very interesting. Like they're nice to you if they like,
Yeah.
But it's like kind of like a weird thing. Like when you're the new kid in, like they kind of like, it's kind of like a sorority or something like
Everybody
that.
stays in their own island.
Yeah, they don't talk to you.
Cliques.
So like I want to I can't wait to like really like go to these things and kind of feel welcomed and like feel like I belong. Because I always feel like when I
part
go
of
to
the community.
Yeah, like part of the community, because I don't feel like I've ever felt like I belonged. I always feel like everybody just looked at me as like the songwriter or the girl featured on the song. So like now it feels good to like be a part of a song that's doing well. But I think that my journey and everything has definitely made me this like really has forced me to. I think the only reason why I've come so far is because I've been able to be real with everybody around me and be real about my past and work on myself. And I think to really be successful in this music business, you have to be very honest with yourself. And I think that if you ever have like writer's block or whatever it may be, it's really because you're lying to yourself about something that you don't like in your life or something that you don't like about the way that you act or yourself. And I think that in part with my musical background, my stories has really, created this album that I think is great. And, you know how artists are. I'm like, I want to put it out and I want to work on the next one because I feel like I could do better. But I'm really happy about it. And we're doing it in parts actually, which is cool. February 17th is like the first part.
Part 1, yes.
Yeah, part 1. And that's going to be a little bit more urban, and then it transitions in part 2 to a little bit more pop and electronic and fun sounding because it's based off of a breakup and the actual transitions of like being upset and then.
Man, that's a whole other podcast. We could have just talked about that for half an hour.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Well, in a fast, summary of All Your Fault, I got asked to do the Nick Jonas tour, and right before the Nick Jonas tour, my now ex-boyfriend, who I dated for a year and a half, decided to break up with me through a text message, which at the time I was like, oh, it's so childish. It's like so like young and immature. It's shitty. So I took that to heart because it was like my first real, true, honest love, and I couldn't understand it. And when you're on tour on a tour bus crying every day, it helps you. The fans help you. I remember being on stage crying and be like, everybody say fuck you to my ex, and they're like, fuck you.
It becomes this cathartic thing.
Yeah, so in the beginning it kind of made me bitter and brokenhearted, and I was like, I want to call this album All Your Fault. So the album starts out with a song called Atmosphere, and it's about how there's not enough love in the atmosphere to have kept him there with me. It's just not in this world, not this lifetime. And then it transitions to a song that's called Gateway Drug, and it's about my ex finally reaching out after 6 months later and being like, I miss you at 3 a.m. in the morning, and me being like, oh, if you want to text me, let's talk about the way you broke up with me through a text. And then it transitions to a song called Bad Bitch, which is like you had a bad bitch and now you've lost her. So it is what it is. And then Ty Dolla $ign decided to jump on that, it's a really dope urban record, very rhythmic. And then I'm living in LA and I'm going through a lot of friendships and I was like kind of bitter at this time. So I wrote a song called Fake Friends about living in LA because it's so fake. It's literally all about LA, but it could be based off of real life. And then G-Eazy heard it, while we were doing Myself and I, and he's like, I this record so hard. He's like, I need to jump on it. So we actually did that. We shot the video in Amsterdam, and then I think there's another one, but I don't remember which one that is. But Small Doses, an amazing song. I did it with this girl, Lauren Christie, and she did a lot of Avril Lavigne back in the day and Korn, and she's really talented. And we wrote a song about having too much love and needing a little less of it. And then it goes into I Got You, which is the transition of when I'm finally like over my heartbreak and I meet somebody that I really like, but both our walls are up. So I'm like, let your walls down. And then the second part of the album kind of goes into this more interesting.
Like It Gets Better?
Yeah, like It Gets Better. It's like more about like loving yourself and like kind of being like, I'm not the one for you. Like I'm now the more powerful one. So all your fault in a sense of like, you made me stronger and now I'm this bad bitch.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, welcome to The Dessert. We just listened to Bebe Rexha, long interview.
Good one, though.
She's a good one.
Delightful. She's a clever girl.
And now we have our pop culture aficionado and great friend, Shane Christian Cunningham. Shane, what is going on?
Why is that so funny?
Well, it's just because Mike and I got into a little bit of a spat after the last but I wasn't sure if he was going to start with the great friend. And I'm not sure if Mike wants to talk about it either, because this is the Valentine theme one.
Oh, yeah.
And I acknowledge, too, that people are all different. And when something bad happens to me, kind of, or I get in an argument, I kind of like it only because no one likes to hear a story about things good happening to you.
Sure.
I find people always enjoy when it's like, oh, and then the bus splashed me with water and it ruined my day. And they're like, ha ha ha. But if I'm like, this happened to me, it's like, you, buddy.
Yeah.
Something good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Mike likes talking about confrontation, but I do. So I'm not sure if Mike wants to talk about it. But while Mike's thinking about this, I want to ask you, did you do your homework, Max?
Oh, still haven't done it.
Max was supposed to call
bullshit, man.
Shit.
Fellas, don't get in a fight yet.
Okay, I will.
Can we call him now?
Let's call him right now.
This could be compelling.
Oh, we totally could. We can actually get him on. Are we kind of ambushing him, though? Because we can record the conversation.
But still, we can always edit it out if he says no.
Let's record the conversation.
Okay, you're going to have to put him on speaker, though.
Okay.
We're already all over the place, and we were literally 30 seconds into the dessert.
Okay, here's what I think you got to ask him, though.
Okay.
Be like, hey, I'm not sure if you know who I am. I'm Max from the Arkells.
Shane told me all about your interactions, and I want to invite you to the show in Hamilton. It's sold out. It's on Friday night.
Exactly.
Why don't we
Playing
put it on
Cops Call
speakerphone, though? Why don't we put it on speakerphone?
Hey gang, Mike here. Editor's note. The way that we record the dessert is we basically roll all the way through. If we talk for half an hour, we go for half an hour and then cut it after. This dessert started out like any other dessert. Right off the top though, Shane said, Max, did you do your homework? Now, if you listened last week, you know that Max's homework was to call Frank D'Angelo and not only invite him to come on the pod personally, but also invite him to the Arkells show in Hamilton at Cops Coliseum. Max, of course, did not do his homework. We get it, he's busy, he's touring. Shane says, Max, I can't believe you didn't do your homework. You should call him right now while we're sitting here doing the dessert. Max says, I'll call him right now. So we go, okay. We say, well, if we're going to have a conversation and invite him on the pod, let's roll on it. Let's record. The problem is we had to reset up the recording in order to get the conversation with Frank. So we stop the recording and we start resetting up. Max is ready to make his call. We think we're good to go. The problem was the record button did not get hit again. So not only do we not get the Frank conversation, but, and by the way, I'm beginning to think that we are cursed when it comes to Frank D'Angelo. We also ended up going from that conversation right into the dessert, because again, we don't stop rolling. At some point, Shane and I end up getting into a sort of emotional conversation, a bit of a confrontation, but again, we think we're rolling on all of this. You're about to hear that alluded to. From there, we go into what we consider a much more traditional dessert, where Shane's sort of sharing his story. Now, this is where we realize we're not recording. We get about 5 minutes into that, we realize, holy shit, we don't know where the recording went wrong, but we just know that we haven't been recording at some point. So we don't know if we got any of the frank conversation, we don't know if we got the argument, we don't know anything. After listening back, we realized we didn't get any of it. So what you're going to hear is our attempt at recreating the dessert that we thought was recorded, but unfortunately was not. Back to the dessert. What happened from there was we got into a little bit of a contentious argument because Shane and I went to a Louis C.K. show. We ended up talking about that. Feelings were had. We were going to share some of that.
It was really compelling too. Like
So really, none of that's gone.
I don't know how much
we
is
don't know
there.
how much we got, but I kind of
Hold on. If there's any, so go on. If you kind of stood back.
I sort of stood back and let Shane and Mike go at each other for like half an hour, and I was a little worried that it was getting too contentious. But then I was also really compelled by the conversation. It was a very honest conversation between friends. At the end of it, you said it was cathartic. Mike, you revealed parts of yourself that you don't normally talk about. I was very proud of you. Like, it was all a really interesting piece of tape. But I don't know if we got any of that.
Well, I like, because at the end I was kind of like, I'm worried people think I'm stupid, and you made a point. You're like, Shane said it was very cathartic. Like, you used like a big boy word. Thanks, Max.
It was cathartic and therapeutic, and Max had some interesting things to say, just sort of sitting over there wondering what he got himself into as Shane and I worked through our issues. And then we were like, okay, let's just record like a safe dessert, like a dessert that we know.
A lighthearted one
where, you know, we're not bearing our souls. And we got about, 5 minutes into that, which was very good. And we realized that the H6 was not recording the thing that we recorded.
So are we going to try to recreate some of the laughs? Because I even I'll do one, let's just recreate it. I'll even.
Yeah, cool. Go.
Let's do it. Okay, so we normally play basketball on Monday nights, and so this Monday in Dundas, I wanted to play. I wanted to see if Shane would play because he plays in this little run we do. So does Max. And I said, "Hey, Shane, do you want to play tonight?" And you said, "I can't. I'm shooting something."
I'll take it from here, Mike. So what happened was. Months ago, after I got married, I went on a little honeymoon. And on the flight, coincidentally enough, some people from my work were on that flight. One of the directors, he does a segment for MTV Fora. So I guess he just made note, like, oh, Shane's got a fairly attractive wife. Maybe I can use them in a segment one day. So months go by, and Valentine's Day, as you both know, is around the corner.
We should always go through these things twice.
So he said, hey, Shane, would you appear in a segment with your wife? I agreed. And basically the premise is older couples, like couples who have been married for 60 years plus and are going to give advice to younger couples, like newlyweds, they call them. So I agreed, and I did a joke. I was like, but I just did it for the cash. Yeah. You guys laughed.
Nailed it. And then you dropped your phone.
No, Mike, I'm getting to that. So the first question they had for the older couple, it was actually on a little video screen. So I was controlling the video screen, and the first question was about secrets. Whoops! I just dropped one of my phones, where I keep my secrets.
Your second phone.
Well, my one for my mistresses, you mean, Max?
Oh, shade.
So that got a big laugh. Yeah. So when the video played, the couple said, it was kind of funny because you could tell the couple wasn't really in love anymore, kind of. Well, I could at least tell that the white guy wasn't in love with the Asian girl.
You could just say the husband wasn't in love with the wife, but yeah.
Right. I mentioned that last time too. I was like, I don't know why I'm saying that she's Asian. But anyways, just to frame it so people can tell what they look like.
You're setting a scene.
Yes. So the question was, do you keep secrets after being married all this time? And the woman's like, oh no, we share everything, like, we're close as ever. And then the white nerdy husband was like, well, some secrets never hurt anybody. A few secrets. Got a bigger laugh last time.
Yeah. But now we were fully caught up.
Yeah. And then Alex and I talked about it, and Alex is like, we don't keep any secrets, and then I was like, we don't, and I lied a little bit, but
as he drops his second phone again.
I do have Snapchat. And then there was an older Italian couple, and they were kind of funny. And you think when you get older, you get over certain things. Like early in my relationship with my wife, I guess there was jealousy issues, and a couple of fights happened over that. But it asked about jealousy, and the older couple said, it was this old Italian man, he goes, yes, I get jealous. He's like, the other day I went to dance, a man go to grab my wife, and I said, you get your own wife, that's my wife. I was so jealous. So yeah, that was the story's done, guys. Sorry. This is so hard to retell a story like this. But basically, the reason I even got into the fight with Mike coming in, off the top, I kind of explained that when things are going really well, I have a hard time talking about it. And right now, like Alex and I, like things are going really good for us. And I don't find it all that interesting. So I thought I'd be smart and bring up a little little spat that Mike and I got.
Want to stir the pot, come out swinging a little bit.
Conflict. People like conflict.
But it blew up in my face. Who knows if half of it got recorded? But I will say this: I did, which I genuinely find interesting. I started floating recently. Because, like, you know how you were one of the reasons we were saying, like, we are so, I don't know, it's stressed out lately, you and I both, is because of the commute. And I found like it's totally been taking a toll on my mental health, everything. So I looked up this thing called floating. It's where you float in 10 inches of water, and it's heated up to the same heat as your body temperature. And they put in literally 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt. Like literally, it's 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt, which makes you 10 times more buoyant than you'd be if you were in the Dead Sea, which is very buoyant. And Joe Rogan talked about this on his podcast, that he had a total out-of-body experience, and it was almost like the equivalent of being in an awesome deep sleep for like 3 days or something, and you just feel like re-energized, everything. It's like a mini vacation encapsulated in an hour. So I was like, fucking sign me up for this shit. So I went with my wife, and I did it, but here's the catch-22 of it. If you are an anxious person and self-aware and really like introspective, you can't relax. Like the whole time you're just like, oh, I'm just sitting here and
with your own thoughts.
Yeah, because it's a deprivation chamber.
Yeah.
So you have no light either. You're just floating in a little tank. So
sensory deprivation.
Sensory deprivation chamber. So I'm literally just thinking about my mortality, scary thoughts. What if this fucking thing doesn't open? What if I'm trapped? And then, before I know it, I'm out of there and I'm feeling more stressed than when I first got in it. But if you are a relaxed person, it's very beneficial. Like Alex came out, she's like, it was out of body and I saw like a spaceman and this was incredible. And I was just kind of like fuming because she had this really great experience. And Alex doesn't have a worry in the world ever. Yeah. And she just had like this amazing experience and is all refreshed. And I had like bags under my eyes and felt horrible. And then the guy ended up giving it to us for free, actually, which was very nice, I thought. Nice. Well, they're kind of weirdos at this place. Like, anytime you go to like a hippie place, they're very, and he was like very into Alex's like spiritual experience.
Are we sure that he wasn't the spaceman she saw in the chamber?
A spaceman fingered me in the deprivation chamber. Weird. Can we end there?
That's it. That's all. That's our episode. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Wow, what a roller coaster.
It was a unique one.
Yeah.
I want to thank, again, Bebe Rexha was great.
Yeah, you can find us online at Mike on Much on Twitter and Instagram. Please subscribe to the show. Please tell your friends about it. Leave a comment in the rating section on iTunes.
You can find us on YouTube, Google Play, Much.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, all that business. Like Max said, the Mike on Much podcast is produced by Max Kerman. I'm your host, Mike Veerman. See you next week if we don't die on the weekend.